Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, January 11th, 2021. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. The National Championship game against Alabama is today. More like tonight. The Michigan game, 320 days away. But we're going to talk more. We'll spend probably, I think, my guest is Tony Gerdeman. Tony, I think it's fair we probably spend more time thinking about Alabama today than Michigan. I know that Ohio State fans want to talk about Michigan every day. We set it aside for one day. Talk a little about Alabama. Game is tonight, about 8:30, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami. We released our staff predictions over the weekend. I understand you did not pick Ohio State.
I picked a game with Ohio State in it.
That's good.
I did go with Alabama 37-35.
Yeah, I mean that's close. The actual
what
score.
About you?
The actual score that I picked was 38-35, which is I think more of a correct score, but I guess we'll find out tonight. But there are a million things that are going to go into that game. This is a game that I think Ohio State. You look at the national predictions, and it's like everyone's picking Alabama. And I think there's a lot of people that think this is going to be a blowout. I don't really see it that way. I think there's a lot of reasons to think that Ohio State is, at the very least, very competitive in this game and potentially has an opportunity to win, too.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting where you saw people saying blowout against Clemson as well, and that did not turn out to be the case. And then they just once again assumed that Ohio State is going to, kind of what happened to Notre Dame, where Alabama will be able to do what they want. Maybe it doesn't get totally out of hand, but still like 31-13 or something is still a blowout. Not that Ohio State is going to be held to that, but just that Ohio State is almost here for show. Granted, I haven't been watching a lot of ESPN to see many picks, but you kind of get the feeling from everybody that the few and far between are the Buckeyes being not only just picked but expected to keep it within a score or so.
Yeah, Ohio State is an underdog by like 8.5 points, depending on where you look right now. I mean, they as we mentioned, they were an underdog against Clemson as well. And there's a lot of the same stuff that we looked at before the Clemson game as reasons Ohio State might be able to minimally be competitive and quite possibly win the game. A lot of those same things are in play again here against Alabama. I mean, and in every football game we always ever talk about, it all starts in the trenches.
Yeah, and Ohio State's offensive line showed that they were more than capable of handling Clemson. Now, this is a different animal, but the goal remains the same. And if you don't win in the trenches, you won't win this game. And I wrote about it last night. I don't even know what day. Well, Sunday night, I wrote about it, Tom, this being Monday, of course. So, yeah, Haskell Garrett said there's no doubt this game will be won in the trenches. And it's impossible to argue with them. That's just the way it is, especially when you have teams like this. When we talk about evenly matched teams, when the talent equates, it's just every little push that you can get. If you can start moving the other line of scrimmage in your direction, it wears the other team out, it wears the opponent down, and eventually by the end of the game, you've done enough to win, whether it's protecting your quarterback that leads to big plays, or just establishing the run, which keeps the ball away from the opponent. If you get it started up front and things keep going, then you've got the whole snowball effect going.
And with the way Ohio State's offensive line has been playing, with as well as Trey Sermon has been running, with as much as Justin Fields has been able to at least be a little bit of a factor in that run game, I think there's a reason to think Ohio State may be able to run the ball against this Alabama defense, because this is a very good Alabama defensive front. The corners are very good. The linebackers and the safeties are not, you have in your head an image of this is an Alabama defense. This is what it's like. And the linebackers and safeties are like, it's like when you go to the theater, when that was a thing you could do, you go to the theater and it's like today playing the role of, whatever the starring role is the understudy. And it's like, oh, I don't get to see. And then it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of like an understudy group of Alabama linebackers and a little bit of an understudy group of safeties. There is stuff there to be taken advantage of, and the fact that Alabama's defense is not fantastic means Ohio State's going to score enough that they're probably, I don't think they're getting blown off the field.
Right. So would this be Alabama's defense is. They're playing the role of Alabama's defense as Ole Miss's defense.
I mean, I saw those two defenses on the field, and it looked very similar for quite a while. And I mean, again, the Alabama defense has gotten substantially better since that game. That was in October 11th or something like that. But
yeah, no, there's definitely things that Ohio State can do, and that's why I agree. If the Alabama defense is going to be giving up points, like the basic mathematics of football is how many points can Ohio State give up if they're continuing to score, and how do you get blown out if you are also scoring? There's only so many possessions. Both defenses have talent that can make plays. The defensive lines can cause some issues, some turnovers, and really it's how many empty possessions does each team get? Well, that will decide the game as opposed to now. It's the same thing with the scoring and the not scoring, but if you can break the serve, if you can get those turnovers. You win a turnover margin, Tom, in this one. I think you got to feel pretty good. Yeah,
I mean, with as good as as we're anticipating the offenses are going to be, if the offenses are operating with a short field, that only makes it easier. So you would think that would help. Other side of the ball, the Ohio State defense, there are a million rumors floating around. There's a million questions floating around. This is probably, this is not the most shorthanded Ohio State has been this year. We will have a full availability report coming out from Ohio State about an hour to 2 hours before kickoff. It's usually 7-ish p.m., give or take. We should have that availability report for you and be able to kind of go through like, okay, and now what do they do? So we'll get to that a little bit later on tonight. It is, though, this is a defense that, again, this is very similar in some ways to the Alabama defense, where it's like the Ohio State defense this is not like a vintage Ohio State defense where, this is not the 2019 Ohio State defense. But they're okay. And they're not, this is not the Alabama is a very, very good offense. But there are enough pieces on this Ohio State defense where if the defensive line can get pressure, that can throw Mac Jones off and maybe short circuit this Alabama offense a little bit.
Yeah, and it starts quite clearly, but then you start to fluster Mac Jones. You get him, you come from, even if you have to blitz, that's fine. If you don't have to blitz, all the better. I'm kind of thinking that Ohio State's defense is maybe trending better right now than Alabama's. Mm-hmm. Even though Alabama's 7 of 8 opponents, 17 points or fewer, there's that Florida outlier that they just played where that, to me, feels like the real defense, the real Alabama defense. Now, Ohio State, the real defense, I kind of think we finally saw it against Clemson because it's been so long since this is as healthy as they've been. They've, in terms of what they've had on defense in the secondary, they've kind of been able to finally put the pieces in there and get them playing together. And now they get to do it for a second week in a row to see how it all works. And if they tackle as well as they did against Clemson, I think they're going to have a really, really good shot.
Yeah, I mean, that Clemson offense, I think Ohio State made Clemson look not very good during that game, but that was a pretty good Clemson offense. That was a Clemson offense that did not look like that at any point in the year prior to that. They did not look like that in games where they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. So there is something there with the Ohio State defense. You mentioned what you wrote about. I'll mention what I wrote about. Justin Hilliard, 60-year linebacker. He's been here forever. He has been at Ohio State so long, he committed in the July of 2014. Justin Hilliard committed before Ohio State won its last national championship against Alabama. He showed up on campus right after they beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl in that year. He was classmates with Jerome Baker, who has just completed his third NFL season, with Joe Burrow, who went on to win the Heisman and is now completed his first NFL season. I mean, this is a guy who's been around. There are always guys who are like, oh, this guy feels like he's been around forever. And Justin Hilliard really feels, and it's like, there's a reason Justin Hilliard feels like he's been around forever, but it's like he had so many injuries. He had 3 years where he had biceps injuries, he had an Achilles injury 1 year, and it's like, you can't help but feel good for him. It took so long, but now he's finally to the point where he thought he would be when he committed in July 2014, which is a major contributor for an Ohio State team playing for national championship.
He's one of the best players on the defense for the Buckeyes, mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking right now, like, if you were to rank like the players on defense from who is the most important right now, he's going to be up there. Who's playing the best? He can do so many different things. He doesn't make mistakes. He hasn't been making mistakes. He makes his tackles. And when he's out there, even in the 4-3, which is sometimes a mismatch, like there's a reason they can do that, and he's part of that reason, or not the 4-4 rather, with the four linebackers. The fact that they are able to put all of these different guys out there, and you're happy for him because not only is he finally healthy, but he is, as you said, a major contributor, and I don't know that they would be here without him. I mean, they haven't played the toughest schedule, but I think they are much more equipped to beat Alabama with him than without him. Same with Clemson.
Well, and the margin for error has been so thin this year for Ohio State. It's been like they've been scraping by so often with and this is something I'm writing about a little later on today. This will be go up about 9 o'clock in the morning on Monday. But like all the different places this season could have derailed for Ohio State. I mean, from Big Ten decisions to not play, to how hard they had to fight to play, to all these games where it's like they've not had a full strength team since like week 1, basically. And it's just constantly like just one more thing after another. And so the margin for error has been so thin in a lot of these games that you need a Justin Hilliard, you need a Justin Fields, you need a Trey Sermon, you need, this has been like a, the It Takes a Village. Like this has been the It Takes a Village season for Ohio State football. But yeah, here they are, one win away from a national championship in a year that, I kind of want to go back and listen to some of our podcasts from August to listen to like August 15th. What were we talking about? Like, and then to think that they're here and tonight have a chance to win a national championship. Every year the national champion is like, oh, it's the most incredible story. Like, no, seriously, this is a team that didn't think it was going to play a season, and now they have a chance to win a national championship.
I think just about everybody watching this and a lot of Buckeye fans who pay close attention probably said around week 4, man, I wish Steel Chambers would start getting some of Trey Sermon's carries. Trey Sermon, I thought he was going to be, but that Steel Chambers, I see something in him. I'd like to see him get some of the carries. Trey Sermon's not doing anything with him right now. And you see Trey Sermon is, 130 yards away from a 1,000-yard season based on the 524 yards rushing the last 2 weeks. And then, he had 116 or something against Michigan State week before all of that started. It's only been, 7 games? But it sure seems about like 17 based on when it started, how the things that have happened, who is here one week, who is not the next. It's been like watching a different team almost every single week. And that's kind of, it's interesting because you don't ever quite know what to expect. And yet the team has been able to build off of that, been able to grow from that. The growth, I'm sure Ohio State is not alone. The growth for a lot of players this year nationwide has been more than they would have expected. And that kind of happens, like when you're trying to learn a new language, if you just get immersed in it, you have no choice, the whole sink or swim type of thing. And the Buckeyes have been swimming, man.
Yeah, and there are a lot of programs. There are 130 programs in FBS, and 28 of them have sank in one way or another. So there's only 2 people left swimming. They will swim that final lap tonight in Miami. It's pretty warm here, so I guess it's okay to swim outdoors. You're fine. It's not. Don't swim in Ohio, at least not outdoors. But yeah, this is going to be quite a fascinating day, and I will let you know. I have worked in an office. I remember what the day in Columbus, Ohio, of the workday and the level of productivity of a workday in Columbus, Ohio, on the day of an Ohio State national championship game. I remember that it is not the highest that it probably ever is. So if you were looking for a few things to keep you occupied today, friends, are you in luck? Tony and I, a little later on this morning, will be doing a live pregame show from Miami. We'll aim probably mid to late morning. Best way to make sure you don't miss that is to go to youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you'll get a little pop-up notification that says, hey, they went live with a pregame show from Miami. You should turn this on and pretend to be working for an hour or so. We answer viewer questions, talk about a bunch of story angles for the game. There's going to be plenty to talk about. Then early this afternoon, we'll head over to Hard Rock Stadium. We will do another pregame show live from the stadium, get you inside, let you see what we're seeing. Should be, again, plenty to talk about. They also have a full day of content at BuckeyeScoop.com, written content, podcasts, all sorts of stuff. You don't want to think about spreadsheets and work stuff today. We get it. Like, we know. We are here for you. This is our day to get you through the day. We get it. We know our role here. We are going to do our part. So you can make sure you go to youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop. Subscribe there so you get notified when we start doing those live pregame shows. Also, would be a great day to subscribe to at BuckeyesScoop.com as well. The Ask the Insiders board has been exploding all weekend. Tons of great content. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of great Buckeye talk there. Make sure you check that out. Just be a member at BuckeyesScoop.com. Sign up. Might be a pretty interesting day or two. And then, National Signing Day is coming up in a few more weeks. There is plenty to see, plenty to do, plenty to read. Is there a hot stove league for football? Feels like
there is now in college football.
It feels like that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Going to be some transfer portal stuff to keep an eye on as well. But we'll get there. All you need to do: subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to Buckeye Scoop. We'll get you through today, and then you get to watch a little football tonight. So that should be fun. Make sure you also check out all of our podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. Subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review if you could. We really appreciate all of that. I think that's it. I think we're done until we start doing our live pregame show. So enjoy the day. Enjoy all the content. Enjoy the football tonight. And we will talk to you tomorrow.